Hey Internet, Grumpy Man again. Hope you're all doing well. So this video is my 2 years, nearly 20,000 kilometer kind of review. So follow up. I didn't actually do a review when I bought the bike, but so I just thought I would talk about what I like, what I don't like. What I don't like is probably very small. So I just stopped. I'll try to keep this video a little bit shorter, but I'll do another part as well with a close-up of the bike and show some of the mods I've done, which is not too much. So I'm out in this is St. Polycarp, I think. So just west of Montreal. My usual roads. I'm on call, so I can't be too far from home. I don't have my laptop with me. So 2015 BMW R1200R. I bought it brand new pretty much 2 years ago. I got it Labor Day 2015, and I'm up to just about 19,000 kilometers, which is for the Montreal riding season, which is, you know, it's pretty short. Even if you tough it and drive when it's cold. This season particularly was very bad. I've done a few trips though. So this is basically a fully loaded model. The only options I do not have are, there's only 3 things I don't have. I don't have the tire pressure sensors, I don't have the keyless ride, and I don't have that LED running light. I didn't have much of a choice. I wanted this model, and it was the last one for 2015 that they had, like, around this area. So yeah. So it's got heated grips, it's got cruise control, it's got the dynamic ESA, so dynamic electronic suspension, it's got a quick shifter, everything. These handguards are mine. I added those. They're bark busters. Great for when it's cold. You have heated grips, so those help. So, I'll start with the negatives. Let's do something different. So the only things I don't like about the bike, and I'm pretty much nitpicking because this is pretty much one of the best all-around motorcycles I think you can buy. So if I'm nitpicking, the transmission is a bit rough. It's been fixed in newer models, so I think the 2016 they fixed it, or the 2017, one of those two, they changed it. It's rough when you're in neutral and you put it into first. It's a big, like a tractor clunk, and the bike kind of lurches a bit. You can play with the throttle a bit, make it a little bit better, but it's still quite funky. And the quick shifter, it's a minor nitpick. You really have to be on the gas, and then that's what you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be babying it around. Definitely, if you want to use it from first to second, you have to be like really like going fast, like full throttle. If not, you're better off just using it second to third's still a bit clunky. Third, fourth to fifth, fifth to sixth, beautiful. And downshifting, you have to be you can't be half off the gas. The throttle has to be closed, and it will auto blip to match the revs on the downshift. So that's pretty cool. And for this year, the 2015, even the S1000 single R didn't even have that. It only had it on upshifts. So pretty cool. The other thing I don't like is the headlight. It's there's 2 things that I don't like. One, when you have this is the sport windscreen, so the shorter one. There's also a little useless one, which is this basically a cover that's black that came with it. That one doesn't affect. This one here, the GoPro doesn't really pick it up maybe, but at night there's a reflection here, so the headlight reflects off of the windshield, so it's kind of annoying. When you're in a super dark place, you have that reflection. It's a bit annoying. I don't drive a lot at night because it's 2 H7 bulbs, one for high, one for low. I have aftermarket ones, so they're Sylvania ZXE or something, so one of the brighter ones you could buy. But still, My next bike will definitely have factory LED lights or something that throw more lights, and possibly some auxiliary lights. So I could put, if I was riding at night, I would definitely put a set of auxiliary lights, some Darlas or something, or even well, probably the aftermarket are better than the BMW ones. But that's a bit of an expensive proposition, because you need to, so if you can get the OEM BMW ones, which are expensive, with the light bar, and they'll wire up a switch. I think it replaces the mount here. And they have to program it and everything. If you don't do that, then you need like a CAN opener, a CAN bus adapter, and aftermarket, and then you can use your Wonder Wheel here. Anyway, honestly, minor gripes. We'll go that way, I think is the right way. Anyway, can't really get lost here. So, like I said, minor gripes. Besides that, so you can see quick shifter there. I wasn't really full on gas, but half, I guess. Very nice. Really, that's about the only real nitpick. Yeah. I mean, cosmetically, I made a couple changes. I changed the exhaust. The stock exhaust sounds okay, but it's a huge can. It's very ugly. So I'm still good for emissions and stuff. The catalytic converter is actually in the pipe, in the downpipe, or right before the collector, where they joint, and I kept the exhaust flap as well. So I haven't noticed any difference in power. It's a GPR slip-on with the baffle in. Without the baffle, it backfires a lot, and it's way too loud. This one is just kind of louder than stock. Not enough to be pissing everyone off, which I don't want to do. So that's pretty much my only nitpicks. What do I like about the bike? First of all, it's comfortable. I sit perfectly on it. I have the stock seat, medium, which is the one, if you don't, they'll fit low, high, or medium when you buy the bike for free. I could flat foot it, so possibly the high seat, or there's also a sport seat, which is a little bit higher than the high seat and narrower, might even be good. I'm very comfortable. I was debating lowering the pegs a bit, getting some lowered pegs. There's a Knight Industries, or certainly not the BMW ones. They're crazy expensive. The Knight ones are like 120 US. They're handmade aluminum, so it's just basically the actual foot peg, and it's 1.25 inches lower. So I'm wearing just jeans now, and my motorcycle boots, and I'm just wearing jeans. It's not so bad. But if I'm wearing my my heavier gear, behind my knees, it's a little bit pinched. But it's really not that bad. So the trade-off is I'm flat-footing the bike, so if I'm on gravel or something, most people like to be flat-footed. A lot of bikes now, a lot of adventure bikes, obviously, you can't, unless you're tall. So I'm 5'10", pretty much, and 32, my jeans are like 32 inseam, if that gives you any indication. But, so you can get those seats. There's aftermarket seats. I mean, Corbin, Sargent, I think they both make seats. So it's super comfortable. You sit, you're pretty much upright. You're canted forward a tiny bit. You know, the controls are there. The dash, but, I mean, it does. You have 3 different settings on the dash. The speedometer is a bit small, but you can put a digital speedometer if that's what you want. It has a ton of information, or hardly any information on the screen. You can put a big tack, so there's 3 different screens. And the GPS, and you get a lot of information on the GPS. It's very expensive, but it's wired into the bike, so I can get a whole bunch of stats. I can, on the end of a trip, I can see how many times I shifted, blah blah blah. With the Garmin app, there's a little Garmin app that you can put on your phone. So comfort, I would say it's beautiful. I did long distance. I did a 1,300 kilometer trip up to Tadoussac and Saguenay and Natsuk. beautiful. So I had almost a 9-hour day on the bike. The only breaks I took were quick bathroom breaks and you know, really quick fast food, just eating a bit, and gas. And I wasn't sore at all. My neck a little bit, but that was just because it was windy in a few places. And when you have a naked bike, you know, your head is in the wind, and whether you know it or not, you're using muscles to keep your head straight in the wind. This little windscreen, all it does is basically it keeps wind off my bag here. So if it was raining, I wouldn't be getting a direct splatter here. And it puts the wind about chin level instead of being on my chest. On a normal summer, like last summer, I put on the little screen because with the mesh jacket you get a lot of air on your chest and it's really nice. This summer I've had very few days that I've ridden that it's been like super hot, like in the 30s Celsius. So comfort, everything. So commuting, this bike is it's a good size. It's 509 pounds, I believe, wet. I'm going from memory here, but the weight is really low. It's really easy to maneuver. Yes, you have big cylinder heads sticking out the side, but that's, you know, that's the look. Hello. There's some vibration, but it's a twin, so you're gonna, you know, any twin you drive is gonna have some vibration, but your hands aren't numb from the vibrations like I've had other bikes that were like that. There's so much torque down low from, like, you know, 2,500 RPM. There's torque. The peak torque I think is 98 foot-pounds, but that's higher up. But you have 80 foot-pounds or something from very low, and it's a very nice flat torque curve. So it's so easy to drive. I mean, from a stop from 4th gear, I could probably, you know, I'm abusing the clutch a bit, but it's not going to complain that much. It complains far less than the Ducati Monster that I tried, and also the Multistrada Enduro, same thing. They really did not like being under 3,000 RPM. This one does not care, and it revs to 9,000. There's no point in revving it to 9,000. I mean, you can. It still makes good power, but most of the time you're just short shifting it. But yeah, so if you want to go, you know, canyon carve with this thing, beautiful, good bike. You want to commute, good bike. Do you want to go on long distance? Still a good bike, with the trade-off of, you know, you don't have the wind protection. You know, I could put a bigger screen. I just find they're a bit ugly. BMW makes a slightly taller one. Puig makes one. There's a whole bunch of companies that makes one. You can get the little vent, the little flap thing on the top for turbulence. But my next bike, will it have a fairing? Yes, it will. So my next bike is a GS Adventure, or it's an RT. Possibly a 1600 GT, but I think that's going to be too big to take downtown when I commute downtown Montreal, if you've been watching my videos, which I hope you have. So this is a very, you know, if you want one bike, this is a pretty good all-around bike. You can't go off-roading with it, so a GS would give you that. It's not as sporty as a Ducati Monster or a Super Duke R, but those are more hooligan bikes, I like to call them. This is more, I don't know, you can be a hooligan on any bike, but this thing is not a wheelie monster. It will wheelie, but it's not the same as the power setup is really not the same as those other bikes, which are the direct competitors. Of course, there's other naked bikes too. There's Suzuki, the new Suzuki 1750, very nice bikes, but you know, that's an inline 4, so it's a whole different. That's a whole different ball game. So what have I? So I haven't spent any real money on it. The stock tires were Michelin PR4s. They were fine. I was almost at the wear bars at 12,000. So this spring, 12,000 kilometers. But the front was kind of cupping funny, which apparently is just fine tuning your tire pressure will avoid that. But they weren't bothering me at all. Should we go on the highway? Yeah, we're gonna go on the other side and we'll zip onto the highway. We get a little bit. We just go through town. We'll just go through town. don't feel like there's construction. Yeah, so we don't want to go on the highway. So performance-wise, beautiful. Comfort, beautiful. What else? Brakes. You've got Brembo. You pretty much got Superbike brakes. You got. I don't think you have the M50. I think M50 is the top Brembos monoblock calipers. These are damn close. I don't think they're the M50s. At any rate, you got 2 4-pistons in the front and a 2-piston in the back. The front rotors are like 320 millimeters. They're massive. They're the same size as the I think the same size as the S1000RR. You've got braided lines. The brakes are phenomenal. So brakes are beautiful. Oh, the tires. Oh, sorry. So scatterbrain here. PR4s, I changed them, and I got some Metzler Roadtech 01s, which are relatively new. Actually, a little bit more expensive than the Michelins, but so I've got, let's say, 7,000. I got about 7,000 kilometers on the Roadtechs. No sign of wear. They've been quite good. I haven't ridden in the rain, but through puddles and some wet roads, they've been absolutely perfect. And grip, I don't push the bike like a sport bike or anything, but I've had ample grip. It's never been squirrely. Once on a tar strip it was a bit squirrely, but I don't think any tire is gonna help you from that. And I've done the regularly scheduled maintenance, so that's it. So it's had a couple of oil changes, all done at the dealer. I'm due for the 20,000 kilometer inspection service, which is they're checking the valves, air filter, blah blah blah. It's been beautiful. It does take a bit of oil, but I think that's normal for these motors. So they say in 10,000 kilometers, if you take a liter of oil, burn a liter of oil, then that's normal. They're not going to do anything for you, and that's pretty much what this one has taken. But basically it's been just drive it. It's always started. I never had a problem. I put it on a battery tender, obviously, for the winter. In the spring, and just a couple of cranks right up like normal, like you would expect for a modern fuel injected bike. I mean, and as far as the electronics, so this is not the same for the current year model, but in this year, if you didn't get the electronic suspension, the front was non-adjustable. So I guess for most people, you just live with it, or you have to send your forks out and get them tuned if there was something you didn't like. You can change the springs, the oil, maybe do valve work too. Now I think they have some adjustment in the front, the 2017 model. So at any rate, the base models you have to special order one. So electronic suspension is pretty good. I wish there was a softer setting because our roads are absolute crap here in Montreal, and you bounce around. So I got 2 settings, road and dynamic. I'm in road all the time. Dynamic is just like knock your teeth out. I'm sure on a racetrack, on smooth, racetrack like, it would be very nice. It firms it up, and it's doing adjustments more often. That's how I understand it, how the difference between the two. You also have ride modes. You have 3 ride, well, more than that. If you get the Ride Modes Pro, you have basically 4 ride modes. So the first one, the normal one, is road. All of them, you have the same amount of horsepower. It's just throttle response. So it's how much throttle for how much you turn the throttle with your hand. So in road, I think it's 80%. So it's quite nice. ABS and traction control are also at their mid settings, so not at their most sensitive and not at the least intrusive. Then you have rain mode. So if you didn't buy the upgrade, all you have is rain and road. And rain mode is basically what it is. If you're ham-fisted and you give it a big dose of gas, you're not actually giving it gas. It's very there's a big difference. As in, if you're used to driving in the sportier mode and you put it in rain mode, you might stall the bike because it really doesn't. You're really not giving it as much gas. And in that mode, in rain mode, it cranks up the traction control and the ABS to the max settings, so the most sensitive. I use it. I was stuck in the rain once when I first got it, and if I go in on dirt roads and stuff, I've put it on, but I don't think that's the best setting, but obviously if I was doing more off-roading or I had to deal with gravel roads more often, I would probably do a little course or something. A wedding, Saturday. And then if you get the Ride Modes Pro, you get another setting called Dynamics. That's basically 1-to-1 ratio your throttle, so it's the most aggressive throttle, and then the traction control and ABS are set to their lowest setting. Oh, everyone's dressed up nice. Nice day for a wedding. Nothing to do with motorcycle review though. So basically, so that's dynamic mode. So not to be confused with dynamic mode of the suspension. It doesn't touch your suspension, just your electronic nannies, if you want to call them that. But you also get something else called user. And user is what I use. You can see right there now, it's set to user. And it is, you could choose. So I have it set to dynamic throttle, because I like the sportier throttle, the direct throttle. It really comes alive. But I have the ABS and traction control set to road. So I get the sporty throttle that I want, but I still want the ABS and traction control. I'm not on a racetrack, so I like having that. This, for me, you know, there's no point having ABS and traction control if you're going to like turn it off all the time or have it at its lowest setting. So always a little bit of traffic here. So that's pretty good, and more and more bikes are coming with that, especially KTM. Ducatis, I think only the Multistrada has electronic suspension. The Monster doesn't have it, but you get Öhlins, so high ticket Öhlins that once you dial them in, they're pretty good. The other thing that's good is the other setting, which is your preload adjustment. So instead of having to duck a wrench out if I bring a passenger or I load myself up with gear, I don't have to touch a preload adjustment. I have a button here, and if the bike has to be on and stopped, I can have normal, which is one helmet, which is just basically rider. Then I can have rider luggage, or I can have rider with passenger. So if you had your wife or whatever, you had someone in the back, and you found that it was it was bottoming out, or it was just, you know, not behaving the way you want, you just stop, touch of the button, and you're off. So that's pretty cool. So that's part of having that's part of having the electronic suspension. I don't think it does anything in the front for preload with those settings. Someone could correct me in the comments if that's wrong. I mean, yeah, I don't know what else. So price wise, so before I get into that, so I'm very happy with this bike. The only thing, I really shouldn't have gone this way. The only thing for me is that now that I've got the bug and I like to do, you know, long trips now. I mean, I've done, in the last 2 weekends, I've done like 2,100 kilometers or something. So that's, the only thing that for me, that I need now, is I need more wind protection. So I will definitely be looking at replacing it. More than likely it will be another BMW. So they're coming out with a new boxer engine in the next year or so. So I'm going to wait for that. Variable valve timing, a slightly bigger engine, slightly more powerful. This is 125 horsepower. I don't think they're going to boost it too much because they don't want to really compete with the S1000R. Not really the same market. So I'll probably be replacing it with either an RT or a GSA. I'll be definitely doing a test ride on them at a BMW event, and when I get close to making a purchase, I'm going to find a place that rents one. I think there's still a couple places around Montreal where you can rent one, including the dealer where I'd probably buy it. They would probably hook me up if I was serious. So they have demo bikes, I think. Anyway, so that's the only reason I would change this bike. I mean, the clutch is light, like I'm in traffic here. It's hydraulic clutch, so it's nice and light. I mean, you can have regular clutches that are light as well, but this is like super light. Adjustable levers. Yeah, there's always traffic. What time is it? Yeah, it's only 2:19. Good. But definitely, I would say. So the 2017, the price pretty much stayed the same. I think it's like, I mean, a base model I think is 16 Canadian. But you're probably never going to see a base model, so figure around 18. It's in the ballpark, except for some of the Japanese naked bikes. A Monster is up there in that price. KTM Super Duke R is about there. You know, obviously the European ones are up there, and then the Japanese ones are a little bit cheaper. Yamaha doesn't have really anything. They have the FZ09, but that's really a cheap bike. And nothing wrong with the bike, the FZ09, but it's the switchgear is cheap. The suspension is not very good. If you're a lighter person, it's probably fine, but most people have to modify it. But I think it's half the price of this bike. So I think if you were in the market for one, and definitely 2017, you have there's a heavier flywheel, there's the transmission is less clunky, the quick shifter's been reprogrammed. Mine has been reprogrammed too. There was an update for it at one of the service I got done, but yeah, I don't know what else to really say. If you are in the market for one of these, definitely try one out. Put it on your list. It is worth the extra money. Certainly if you don't like electronics and you want your less buttons around, and then sure, it really might not be the bike for you. BMWs are loaded with electronics. That's all of them. That's the way that they are. That's one of their selling points. Do I find them expensive? Yes, it's expensive, but it was my first new bike. I've always had used bikes, but it's definitely a great bike. So that's pretty much, I think I've covered everything. I will do a short addendum to the video, maybe just with my iPhone to show a little bit around. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, check out my other videos, and have a great day. Hey there, Internet. So here's the just a little bit of more close-up video. Pardon the construction noise. So it's a good look at the bike. So nice Brembos. Yes, there's a few bugs. I just washed it, but I just got splattered in bugs. The headlights that I was talking about. So these little lights here are useless. They don't really do much. The other ones aren't so bad for what they are. I mean, it's all about the look. LED, you can't get them standard in Canada. I think it's still the case, so I had to add those. I added this, so the Bark Buster Storms, very nice. Radiator, it's the new liquid cooled model, of course. You never feel the heat, it doesn't overheat. As soon as it hits 100, the fan comes on, you kind of hear it. There's no heat being blown onto you. So for that, sitting in traffic and stuff, very nice. You don't roast your manly bits like some of the Ducatis that I've tried. I don't know if the KTM does that. There's a nice exhaust that I put. So you can see the exhaust flap is still there. These aren't that's the OEM rack for the top case, and this is for the shad bags that I had already put. I have a video. Back I didn't really do a tail tidy. There was a tiny little reflector piece that's come out about 4 inches. I just cut it here. It looks a lot nicer. You do get some slop here. A hugger, you can get one. Puig makes one. You can also get one it goes in here to protect your the suspension. It's not that bad. If I was riding more long distance, probably I might add one. So this side, so shaft drive, there's no shaft effect with the joints that they have at both sides. You don't really, when you slow down, you don't really feel it, you know, come down like I had an older shaft bike, you used to feel it. Nice Roadtech 01s. I think there's a cricket near me. Yeah, so you can see, very nice. As for the dash layout, it's a little bit busy if you're not used to this kind of thing. If I have longer fingers, so it's not bad, but some people have complained that with the Wonder Wheel here, you can go back, forth, that when you're reaching, you know, to grab the turn signal, flashers is not so bad. Flash to pass, I should say. Cruise control, hazards. That's you can turn off your ABS. That's for the preload on the suspension, and also to set the mode road or dynamic. That's to cycle through the displays. On the other side, you have your kill switch and start switch mode for your driving modes, and most importantly, heated grips. And if you haven't seen the dash on this, it's flashing because of the refresh rate of the camera. So that's one mode. Of course, the service lights come on because I'm due for my service. I have it with luggage just to see if it stiffens it up. It's for my weight. I'm about 185 pounds. It seems to be pretty good. You can go through here. You get all kinds of. You can see if I go. You get through all kinds of information, which is also on the GPS. And if I go style and I hold it, so that's the sport mode, the bigger tack, and if I hold it again, you have that mode, which is just a speedometer basically, and whatever you put in the bottom there. I usually have outside temperature on. The speedometer is a little bit small, but whatever, you could leave it on this if you're that concerned. I don't have the keyless entry, the keyless ride, as you can see. So yeah. So that's the 2015. Give a wider shot here. I have other videos if you want to see more. I really like the color. With the gold forks and the red frame really is, that's why I got this model. I almost bought an RS, but in 2015 it was blue. They had like, yeah, gray or, anyway, the colors I didn't like, so yeah. So thanks for watching again. Subscribe, comment below, thanks.